So it's not too often that a Perris Ellis fragrance is released that ends up catching people's attention. And I think that's because in terms of the designer fragrance game, it's kind of dominated by brands like Gucci and Chanel and Dior. Well, there is a brand new fragrance that was released towards the tail end of last year, 2022. This one by Perris Ellis is called Sky. I recently purchased it from Macy's. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on it, let you know if I think it's worth a sniff. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin today's episode and I give you my thoughts on the brand new fragrance by Perris Ellis, this one is called Sky, I do want to start things off by saying that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit the bell icon so you could be notified whenever I do upload future videos to the channel. And of course, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It would really mean a lot to me. Thank you so much for your support. So here we have a fragrance, and with a name like Sky, you would think it's going to be very ethereal, ozonic, fresh, upbeat, refreshing even perhaps. And of course, with the aesthetic of the box and the bottle being blue, you're going to get the impression that this is going to be some kind of a blue fragrance. So aqueous, aquatic, maybe perhaps some other fresh ingredients. You look at the note breakdown, sure enough, there's a lot of fresh ingredients in here. You have lavender and ambroxan, mint, bergamot, lime. A lot of the ingredients point in the direction of this is going to be a blue type fragrance. And with the genre kind of being so oversaturated at this point, is there the possibility of there being something unique about this fragrance? Well, I'm going to give you my thoughts regarding that, what I think it smells like, and if I think this one is worth picking up. Let's start things off with a quick look at the presentation. So it should be noted that this fragrance opens up really fresh, right? The citrus in here is really nicely done. So if you're a fan of citrus fragrances, I think you're going to find something really nice with the introduction of this scent. As a matter of fact, when I first acquired it, when it first arrived in the mail, I didn't have a test strip on hand. I was kind of eager to smell it to see if it would be something with a particular wow factor. So I actually sprayed it inside the box. I closed up the box, put it away. A few hours later, I opened it back up, and I still got a certain freshness from it. So this one is a fresh fragrance that kind of goes beyond the citrus. So if you're looking for something that has this sort of bridged freshness from the top to the bottom, you're going to find a really good option here. And I think that's because of the ambroxan that's kind of residing underneath all the other ingredients. Sure, there is cedarwood or sandalwood. There are some woodsy ingredients in here. There's also labdanum, believe it or not. But I think there's a really nice parallel in terms of the freshness because you do have the mint, the bergamot, and the lime in the opening. You also have purple leaves, which I think is violet. So you have violet in the heart, which historically has been used in some other fresh fragrances. And then in the dry down, you do have the ambroxan. So there's fresh, and fresh. So in the opening, when it opens up with that bergamot and lime combination, I get that more so than the lavender because lavender has a very iconic and recognizable smell to it. And I would say I'm not getting a whole lot of lavender from this fragrance, but I am getting that citrus in here, which isn't as short-lived as one would expect it to be. However, I do feel like this fragrance was possibly released a bit out of season. This is a perfect summertime fragrance. If you're a fan of fragrances like Polo Blue, Nautica Voyage, I would even say Nishane Ege because it has like this floral, citrusy thing happening in here. I think you might end up really enjoying this one. Now, when I came back and I smelled this one again, after a few hours, like I said, I opened up the box. There was still a certain freshness about it that I was able to perceive. I actually got a smell that kind of reminded me of watermelon. So for that reason, this one does kind of remind me of Armaf's Milestone. it also reminds me a little bit of Millésime Imperial by Creed. So this could kind of be viewed as a type of fragrance that would be within that family. However, this is less salty. One of the descriptors used for Armaf's Milestone or even Millésime Imperial by Creed is that it smells like a salted watermelon. So this doesn't really have that sort of salty vibe to it, but there's a little bit of like this faux fruity tart feel to it that is not found in a lot of other fresh and citrusy fragrances. So while it does open up very bright and citrusy and it has that zesty appeal to it, you do kind of get like this kind of fruity tartness about it as well that I think makes it really interesting. Now, in terms of criticisms, I don't think it's something that I've never smelled before. I think if you smell it initially, you're going to say, oh, it just smells like a fresh blue fragrance. But I think if it is pitched as a possible alternative to Millésime Imperial, that could generate a bit more interest for the fragrance. However, in terms of the similarities, I think they're only like 50% there. However, if I were to spray this one on a test strip as I did now, and I were to come back to it like 8 hours later, if somebody said to me, oh yeah, I actually sprayed Millésime Imperial here, when in reality, Sky was sprayed on here, I think one would be convinced. It's like, oh, okay, in the dry down, I can see there being some kind of a similarity. But all in all, I do think that this is a really nice, fresh, citrusy fragrance. However, it's one that I would say for the summer months, I think it does have a high compliment factor. This is the type of fragrance that is a massive crowd pleaser. Anyone could enjoy it. Very easy to recommend. However, some people might argue that it might lack a certain level of uniqueness that they might want for a fragrance that really pushes envelopes or something that does things in a way that's a bit different from what's been expected. And so I think this kind of does go with the flow and it follows trends in the market almost to a T, to the point where if somebody smells this, they're going to be reminded of other blue type fragrances. But nevertheless, I do think it's very easygoing, easy to pull off, high compliment factor, mass appeal, and so try it for yourself. I blind bought it, but if you do find yourself in a Macy's or any other department store that happens to be carrying this, try it for yourself. You might end up really liking it. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, I really don't find this to be the most unique fragrance on the market. It does kind of follow along with a lot of the blue trends nowadays, but again, the smell is very pleasant, very easygoing. Also, these work and office safe type of a scent that you would find yourself wearing very comfortably on a daily basis, especially if you work around a lot of other people. You're very self-conscious in terms of the fragrance that you're wearing. You know there's nothing about this one that's going to offend anybody. Longevity on this one was about 6 hours on my skin. Projection was great for the first 45 minutes of application. It did radiate slightly beyond an arm's length. It became an elbow's length scent right around hour 4, a skin scent right around hour 7. In terms of the versatility, it does lean traditionally masculine in terms of the note breakdown and the overall vibe. It's great for the hotter weather. Spring and summer I think is perfect. It does give off more of a casual vibe though. I probably wouldn't wear this one on a special occasion. Even other citrusy fragrances like Terre d'Hermès work a little bit better for a formal occasion, I think. This one has a really strong emphasis on the ambroxan and the citrus, and I think this one would work best for a younger demographic as opposed to somebody 35 and up like myself. You know, for people like me, I usually want something with a bit more pizzazz, something with a bit more complexity, especially if you're, you know, in the fragrance game for a long time, you smelled a bunch of fragrances, you want something that has a bit more complexity to it. And in terms of the presentation, I actually do like the shape of the bottle. I think it's kind of cool. I think the name is also kind of cool too. It has this, it lends an element of simplicity to the fragrance, but I think it also leaves the imagination, you know, with the chance to wander a bit, to sort of try to piece together what this one might smell like. But my final verdict on this fragrance is, if you're a fan of citrus fragrances, if you like fragrances like Creed's Millésime Imperial, Nautica Voyage, Polo Blue, or even Artisan Aqua by John Varvatos, try Perris Ellis Sky. I'm curious to see if you would end up really liking this fragrance. I think it's very pleasant. It's far from what I would be wearing this time of the year, but I will definitely wear this one to work because I think it's a crowd pleaser, highly inoffensive, and a compliment getter as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it, hit the bell, and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks again for watching. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.